The meeting room is now live.
Yes.
I can hear all of you. I think you can go ahead, Mayor.
Okay. Let's call this meeting to order. Al, can you do roll call, please?
Okay, this is roll call for the regular city commission meeting. Benson.
Benson here.
Benson is present. Brunick.
Brunick here.
Brunick is present. Mybom.
Mybom here.
Mybom is present. Minor.
Minor's present.
Minor is present. Mosier.
Mosier here.
Mosier is present. Schramm.
Schramm here.
Schramm is present. Weber.
Weber is present.
Weber is present. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson is present.
Mayor Johnson is present. City Manager Leon.
Leon here.
City Manager Leon is present. City Attorney Denherder.
Denherder here.
City Attorney Denherder is present.
All right, you have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of July 13th, 2020. What is your pleasure?
Weber moves the minutes. Minor second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion of the minutes? Al, roll call, please.
And this is roll call on the minutes. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm is aye. Weber.
Weber is aye.
Weber is aye. Benson.
Benson, aye.
Benson is aye. Brunick.
Brunick, aye.
Brunick is aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom is aye. Minor.
Minor aye.
Minor is aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier is aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson is aye. Motion to approve minutes passes 8-0.
City Manager's report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the Commission. Very briefly, I don't have a lot to report tonight. I would say that we have completed the paving on 12th Street. We tried to get that done so folks could use that for graduation, and then as it turned out, graduation wasn't held there, but nice project. I spoke with Warden Cox at the federal prison camp, and he's been very happy with how it turned out and just the sensitivity to the population there that the city and the contractor used. So that project is wrapping up. There is some good information in your CIM, but nothing that I think warrants bringing forward to you unless you have specific questions of me or of the staff.
Any questions? All right, hearing none, we will move on to public appearances, and this is a time for members of the audience to address the commission about an item not on tonight's agenda. So first, I will go to Dwayne in the City Commission chambers. Is there anyone there who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing at this time.
Thank you. And Dave, Mingo, anyone on YouTube who wishes to address the commission?
No comments on YouTube at this time.
Very good. Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have one item, and that is consideration of Memorandum 20-133, recommending approval of the applications from Rock and Rumble Inc. for A, transient merchant license for August 29th, 2020, and B, a special events dance license for August 29th, 2020. What is your pleasure?
Benson, so moved.
Brunick, seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, is there anyone in the commission chambers who would like to address the commission on this item? Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube with a comment on this item?
There are no comments on YouTube at this time.
Thank you very much. Al, roll call, please.
Okay, this is roll call on consent item 2-1. Weber.
Weber's aye.
Weber votes aye. Benson.
Benson, I.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunig, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom votes aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor votes aye. Moser.
Mosier, I.
Moser votes aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. Consent item 2-1 passes 8-0.
Moving on to old business. Number 1 is consideration of memorandum 20-134 regarding the transfer of location for a package off-sale liquor license for January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020 from Annis Properties doing business as Patriot Express at 100 East 4th Street, and that will be transferred to Patriot Express at 2217 Broadway. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum. Minor, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, anyone in the commission chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing on this item.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
No YouTube comments at this time.
Thank you very much. Al, roll call, please.
Okay, and this is roll call on old business item 3-1. Benson.
Benson, I.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunig, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom votes aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor votes aye. Moser.
Mosier, I.
Moser votes aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm votes aye. Weber.
Weber's aye.
Weber votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. Old business item 3-1 passes 8-0.
Number 2 under old business is consideration of memorandum 20-132 regarding the request for a special events on sale liquor license for August 29th, 2020 from Rock and Rumble, doing business as Yankton Rib Fest. And this would be for the block of 3rd Street between Cedar and Walnut, plus half of Walnut to the alley and half a block north and south on Walnut and 3rd Street. What is your pleasure?
Benson, so moved. Mosier,
Schramm,
second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item?
I have a quick question. So is Rock and Rumble combining with Ribfest? Is that what's happening?
This is Brittany LaCroix. It is, it's Rib Fest, but they do business under Rock and Rumble because Rock and Rumble is kind of like their association. So everything is under Rock and Rumble, but it is Rib Fest.
So is Rock and Rumble moving forward as well this summer?
No.
Okay, so this is the reschedule of Ribfest from earlier.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Any more commission discussion? Dwayne, anyone in the commission chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing on this item.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
No comments on YouTube.
Thank you very much. Al, roll call, please.
Okay, this is roll call on old business item 3-2. Brunig.
Brunig, aye.
Brunig is aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom is aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor is aye. Moser.
Mosier, I.
Moser is aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm is aye. Weber.
Weber's aye.
Weber is aye. Benson.
Benson, I.
Benson is aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson is aye. Old business item 3-2 passes 8-0.
Moving on to new business. Number 1 is consideration of memorandum 20-135 regarding resolution 20-44, which is a plat of the west side of the 2500 block of Trevor Avenue. Kelly Nielsen is the owner. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum, Mosier. Benson, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, anyone in the commission chambers who wishes to address the commission on this item?
We have no one appearing on this item.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
No YouTube comments.
Thank you very much. Al, roll call, please.
And this is roll call on new business item 4-1. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom is aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor is aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier is aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm is aye. Weber.
Weber is aye.
Weber is aye. Benson.
Benson, aye.
Benson is aye. Brunig.
Brunick, aye.
Brunig is aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson is aye. New business item 4-1 passes 8-0.
Thank you. Number 2 under new business is consideration of memorandum 20-136 regarding resolution 20-45, a plat of 2508 and 2010 addresses along Dorian Drive. Johansson Contracting is the owner. What is your pleasure?
Benson,
Schramm,
move the
so
memorandum. Benson, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, is there anyone in the commission chambers who would like to address the commission?
We have no one appearing to comment on this item.
Thank you. Dave, anyone on YouTube?
There are no YouTube comments.
Thank you very much. Al, roll call, please.
And this is roll call on new business item 4-2. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor is aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier is aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm is aye. Weber.
Weber is aye.
Weber is aye. Benson.
Benson, aye.
Benson is aye. Brunig.
Brunick, aye.
Brunig is aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom is aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson is aye. New business item 4-2 passes 8-0.
Number 3 under new business is consideration of memorandum 20-137 regarding resolution 20-46, which is a plat of 2603 West 11th Street. David and Mary Ellen Klein are the owners. What is your pleasure?
Weber
Minor,
moves.
minor second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, anyone in the commission who wishes to address the commission?
No comments in the meeting room at this time.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
There are no YouTube comments.
Thank you very much. Al, roll call, please.
This is roll call on new business item 4-3. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier is aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm votes aye. Weber.
Weber is aye.
Weber votes aye. Benson.
Benson, aye.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunick, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom votes aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. New business item 4-3 passes 8-0.
Number 4 under new business is consideration of memorandum 20-138 regarding resolution 20-47, which is a plat of 302 and 304 Lilac Lane. White Crane Estates LLC is the owner. What is your pleasure?
Brunick moves. Motion. Schramm, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, anyone in the commission chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing on this item.
And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
There are no YouTube comments.
Thank you very much. Al, roll call, please.
And this is roll call on new business item 4-4. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm is aye. Weber.
Weber is aye.
Weber votes aye. Benson.
Benson, aye.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunig, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Maibaum.
Maibaum, aye.
Maibaum votes aye. Meyer.
Minor, aye.
Meyer votes aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. New business item 4-4 passes 8-0.
Number 5 under new business is consideration of memorandum 20-139 regarding resolution 20-48, which is a plat of 302 and 304 Tulip Lane. Again, White Crane Estates LLC is the owner. What is your pleasure?
Schramm, so moved.
Weber,
Minor,
second.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion on this item? Wayne, anyone in the commission chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing on this item.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
There are no YouTube comments.
Thank you. Al, roll call, please.
And this is roll call on new business item 4-5. Weber.
Weber votes aye.
Weber votes aye. Benson.
Benson votes aye.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunig, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Maibaum.
Maibaum, aye.
Maibaum votes aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor votes aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier votes aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. New business item 4-5 passes 8-0.
Number 6 under new business is consideration of memorandum 20-140 regarding resolution 20-49, a plat of the 700 block of East Side Drive. Darlene Jensen is the owner. What is your pleasure?
Benson, so moved.
Brunig, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, anyone in the commission chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing on this item.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
There are no YouTube comments.
Thank you. Al, roll call, please.
And this is roll call on new business item 4-6. Benson.
Benson, aye.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunig, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Maibaum.
Maibaum, aye.
Maibaum votes aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor votes aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier votes aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm votes aye. Weber.
Weber votes aye.
Weber votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. New business item 4-6 passes 8-0.
Number 7 under new business is consideration of memorandum 20-141 regarding resolution 20-50, an owner petitioned annexation of the 3007 West City Limits Road. JTG Properties is the owner. What is your pleasure?
Schramm, so moved.
Minor, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dave, I have a question. Do you know, are there plans for that property?
So the owner doesn't have to disclose that as a part of a petition to annex property adjacent to the corporate limits, but it's usually a pretty safe assumption that they wouldn't want to include their property in the corporate limits unless they had plans for development. They did request a public hearing for a conditional use permit and a rezoning that's scheduled through the Planning Commission at this point. So, yeah, pretty safe assumption that the owners have some plans.
Thank you for that background. Any more commission discussion? Dwayne, anyone in the commission chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing on this item.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
There are no YouTube comments.
Thank you. Al, roll call, please.
This is roll call on new business item 4-7. Brunig.
Brunick, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom votes aye. Minor.
Weiner, aye.
Minor votes aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier votes aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm votes aye. Weber.
Weber votes aye.
Weber votes aye. Benson.
Benson, aye.
Benson votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. New business item 4-7 passes 8-0.
Number 8 under new business is a commission orientation and refresher, and City Attorney Ross Denherter will lead us in this discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. You'll see in the agenda packet there is what I refer to as the dashboard, which we have the privilege of going through about once a year. Normally we handle this in June, but COVID has pushed this back a little bit. I'll try to buzz through it as quickly as we can here, but it's good for all of us to remember these guidelines as you guys conduct your business. First and foremost, I want to talk about how you communicate with constituents. You're elected by the public, so I encourage you to communicate with the public. However, it is extremely important that you do not talk with constituents or personally investigate matters that are what we refer to as quasi-judicial matters, those matters in which you will be sitting in judgment over the rights of a few rather than the public at large. And those are awkward conversations to have because those matters are very personal to the individuals involved. But constitutional due process requires that. And those types of issues are pretty easy to spot. It's things like conditional use permits, variances, petitions to vacate a right-of-way, those license applications that you approve each month, alcohol license, dance license, peddler's license, mobile home, taxi cab, etc. Resolutions of necessity for special assessments, awards of a bid to a particular contractor or a vendor, or tax abatements. Strangely enough, the law does not treat budgetary matters as quasi-judicial. Those are considered legislative in nature. So you may talk with the public about budget requests. If you rely on evidence that does not come out of the public hearing before you for a quasi-judicial matter, make sure that you put that on the record so that if you were provided something in writing that can be shared with the other members of the board and addressed at those hearings. That's one of the more important things that we have to get right, because the effect of a failure can be pretty bad if it found its way in court. So please help me in quasi-judicial matters by sticking to the meeting only, and invite people who have quasi-judicial matters they want to talk to you about to come to the meeting and discuss it with the board as a whole. In your capacity as commissioners, you are often privy to documents that are shared with you that relate to the business you need to conduct, and sometimes those documents are not public, but because you have access to that information, folks may ask you to share that documentation with them from time to time. The definition of public records is rather broad, but there is a list that I've provided for you of records that cannot be shared. So if you have a question, contact me, but that list is fairly comprehensive for the things that you guys will see. Err on the side of caution and give me a holler if you've got questions. As it relates to sharing information with the public, make sure you do not share information either in writing or verbally, comments or communications of a confidential information that come from me as your attorney, or comments made to or from myself or other commissioners or those that have a right to be in your executive sessions. that's your opportunity to discuss openly things that may involve or result in litigation, personnel matters, things that are sometimes of a very highly confidential nature. And if the communications that take place in executive session or things that are communicated to and from me as the city attorney are shared with people that are not covered by the privilege, that privilege is lost for the whole group. So for the protection of the community, make sure that confidential information, particularly that shared in executive session, remains confidential. Now, as it relates to open meeting rules, we have to be careful as far as what is discussed in executive session, but we also have to be careful as to when we have and do not have an open meeting. We have an open meeting if we are engaging in business of the public, or you guys are communicating about business of the public, and there is a quorum of commissioners present. So you have to be aware of your surroundings. If you are at a chamber mixer, for instance, and you look around, you realize, oh, we've got 5 commissioners here. If you're going to communicate with each other, keep conversation focused on the weather. Don't talk city business, and you will do yourself a favor and save yourself a lot of embarrassment. We try to do a good job of notifying the media if we think there may be a situation where we might have a quorum of you present, but help us look out for each other. If you see there is a quorum at a given event, avoid each other, or better yet, you are free to leave. It's just a matter of being smart and keeping the city out of trouble. If you're engaging in an open meeting, that can, without going through the steps of properly notifying the media and publishing notice of it, that violation is a potential crime, and it can result in removal from office. It can also result in public censure through the Open Meetings Commission. It's a black eye for the city. It's a black eye for you. So just help me worry about making sure we don't have open meetings when we're not supposed to have open meetings. That also goes to email. If you get emails from city staff and other commissioners are on those emails, please do not hit reply all. You can reply to staff individually, but just the very communication about city business with other commissioners in written format constitutes a violation of the open meeting rules. Now, getting back to executive session, there are a limited number of things we can discuss in executive session. Those are identified at the bottom of page 2 on the dashboard here. Personnel matters, proposed or pending litigation, contractual matters, preparing for or negotiating with employee representatives on labor issues, marketing or pricing strategies of city-owned businesses when public discussion may be harmful to the competitive position of the business, things of that nature. Also, safety plans have been added to the list in the last couple of years. There was an active shooter, how we handle that situation. Those plans can be discussed in executive session. Do not straw poll or deliberate during executive sessions. Do not deliberate on things, that are on a topic not disclosed to the public. So if we've disclosed that we're talking about contractual matters and we haven't said that we're going to talk about personnel or employee matters, and a personnel or employee matter comes up, we should refrain from discussing that. We can only talk about the list of things that we put on the agenda for the executive session, which are stated generically and in reference to the law, but we got to stick to the script. We got to stick to those confined areas where we have told the world we're going to talk about. No straw polling or voting in executive session. You kind of want to know if there's a consensus, but you got to draw the line. No straw polling, no voting. Attending executive sessions. The public cannot attend a legal executive session. The only person who has the right to attend every executive session apart from the commissioners is the city manager, except if the topic is removal of the city manager. City attorney and city finance officer may attend at the discretion of the board, and other employees may attend as directed by the board. I recommend going through Amy because you don't want to direct Amy's staff. If a commissioner crosses that line by directing city staff, that's actually the commission of a crime, and I don't want to see any of you accidentally get in trouble. Voting. As a general rule, you should participate in the deliberation at a meeting and then vote on every item. However, do not debate or vote if there's not a quorum present. That makes an open meeting, well, technically we don't have a meeting anymore if we lose a quorum. If there's improper public notice of the meeting, meaning where we failed to publish notice of our agenda, and or the item in question is not on the agenda. We can only debate or vote on those things that are before us. Where that can come up is if someone gets up to the podium at the beginning of a meeting and says they want to talk to an item not on the agenda, and they inform you of stuff. We may gather information at that point in time, but we are not there to debate. So please resist the temptation to engage an individual or each other in a debate regarding a matter not on the agenda. We can always add that to the agenda later. And later is fine. We can always call a special meeting if it would be something that we need to take up in a hurry. I just don't want to see you guys get in trouble. Now, as it relates to conflict of interest, on page 3, I do have a flow chart for you to follow if you have a question as to whether a matter that is before the board may result in a conflict of interest for you if you vote on it. First, if you have a direct pecuniary interest in the matter before the governing body, benefiting your own property or affording a direct financial gain to or from you or your household. That is by statute a conflict of interest in all cases. If at least 2/3 of the board decides that you have an identifiable conflict of interest, that could prohibit you from voting or debating on a specific matter. That may be an issue where one of you feels strongly and you want to participate anyway. The rest of you could say, whoa, hold up here. That's, one of you needs to stay away from that, and you can vote on it and prohibit another one of you from engaging in that debate. In quasi-judicial matters, the threshold for conflict is different. Because the law requires a neutral decision maker, you can have indirect pecuniary interest that would qualify. That's an interest that financially benefits one closely tied to you, such as a spouse, employer, or a family member. Could even be a very close friend. So just be aware of that. If it's quasi-judicial, you don't want to take any chances. A direct personal interest that benefits you or a blood relative or a close friend in a non-financial way can also constitute a conflict of interest in a quasi-judicial matter. That's like in the case of a commissioner's mother being in a nursing home subject to a zoning issue before the board. It seems like that wouldn't really rise to the level of a conflict, but it can legally for quasi-judicial matters. Or an indirect personal interest in which a commissioner's judgment may be affected because of membership in some organization and a desire to help the organization to further its policies. That could be something as simple as you're a member of a church and that church has something coming before the board in a quasi-judicial way. So just be aware that the threshold is different in quasi-judicial, and if there's even the hint of a conflict, you should bow out for that type of a matter. That being said, in rulemaking or legislative matters, non-quasi-judicial matters, you should not vote if you have, or at least there is reasonable or objective evidence that you have an unalterably closed mind on matters critical to the disposition of the matter or issue upon which you are voting. So that's a situation where you have told the press on that issue, I am voting that way unequivocally, no matter what, all the time, every time. You can have very strong opinions, just don't talk in terms of absolutes, because you are supposed to be your meetings are supposed to be the meat grinder where you put your brains together and you build consensus on things. And if your mind is unalterably set on something and you made that clear ahead of time, you've actually created a conflict of interest for yourself. So you can make up your mind very strongly about something, but the only time it really matters is when you cast your vote. So that's the time you make up your mind. Now, not to beat a dead horse, I'll move on here. As a general rule, you may talk with each other about any topic you wish outside of a meeting. However, again, don't talk with each other if you see that there is a quorum present. Never agree to swap votes. Horse trading, that can get you in a lot of trouble. It's a form of corruption. And again, never indicate that your vote is unchangeable. In terms of communicating with each other, social media has caused some problems in the past. I don't think all of you are heavily involved on social media, but a lot of you are. I recommend refraining from posting on each other's Facebook pages or similar social media sites, except on maybe comments about pets and kayaking and those types of things, city business related. Don't use that as the forum to debate city business. Do not post confidential information discussed in executive session. If you maintain your own website, or if you do appear to be speaking in terms of or relating to city matters, please make it clear that you only speak for yourself and that you are not speaking for the city. You guys are one, each of you have one voice of the 9, and a majority of you speak for the city, but individually you do not, okay? So you do give up a measure of your First Amendment privilege to say whatever the heck you want when you become an elected official. So I encourage you just to make it clear that when you are speaking, you're not speaking as an agent. You're speaking just for yourself. If people reach out to you via social media or email to lobby you on things that are of a quasi-judicial nature, politely try to rebuff those efforts and invite them to come to the meeting. If they provide information to you in that format, say, I will print this information for the commission and I will share this at the meeting. Please come to the meeting and express your concerns at that time. For quasi-judicial issues, Facebook friending or social media connections can be a source of headache or trouble. For quasi-judicial matters, if you're one of those people who let everybody be your friend, it's probably not a problem. But if you do have a limited scope of who you let be your Facebook friend or other contact through these social media outlets, I would encourage you not to vote for quasi-judicial matters that involve those people if you have a very limited scope of who you consider your friend, because you made it clear to the world that that group of people are potentially close to you and could trigger the conflict of interest issues as it relates to quasi-judicial voting that we talked about a little earlier. Speaking, when you're talking to media generally, again, I would remind you that guidance that make it clear you only speak for yourself, that's also an important caveat. If you guys get asked questions by the media for radio interviews or for the paper, that's also not a bad thing to drop in now and again. If you're asked to give your opinion about something, I strongly encourage you to make it clear to whoever you're talking to that you are speaking for yourself, unless you've been asked or directed to give a statement on behalf of the community in your agency capacity. So keep that in mind. It'll prevent headaches for staff also. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about our form of government generally. This, I think, is also helpful for the public that's listening to understand how the sausage is made here in town. We have a commissioner form of government with a city manager. The city manager has the lion's share of the responsibilities. It's her job to enforce all city ordinances, which she primarily does through code enforcement and through the Yankton Police Department. It's her job to supervise the administration of all city affairs. It's her job to prepare the agenda for this governing body with the help of the city's finance officer. She makes recommendations to the body concerning city affairs. You usually see that in the form of the memos that accompany each action. It's her job to apprise the body of the city's finances, again with the help of the finance officer. She must submit an annual budget prior to August 1st of each year. It's her job to perform and to enforce the terms of all contracts and franchises of which the city is a party. She signs all warrants legally approved by the body for the payment of money, and all contracts over $200, by the way, must be approved by this body. It's her job to prepare and to introduce and discuss all ordinances and resolutions, which often get done with the help of the city attorney. And it's her job to appoint and remove all officers and employees, or to do the same through the delegation to department heads. By contrast, each of you as commissioners, individually or as a body, are empowered to, if necessary, inquire of city employees. That means you have the ability, theoretically, to subpoena and inquire or essentially cross-examine or direct questions to city staff at meetings. However, things work a lot more smoothly if you just coordinate that through the city manager, particularly due to the restrictions found in the law that if you direct city employees improperly, it's a crime. A class 2 misdemeanor with a fine and potential jail time. It's your job to empower to review issues presented by the city manager at meetings, to consider public input with the limitations that we've discussed. It's your job to vote on all issues with the limitations that we've already talked about. And you guys have the job of appointing and removing the city manager, the finance officer, the city attorney, and the library board of trustees. Additionally, the mayor in our form of government is another commissioner that has a vote the same as each of you. However, they have three different aspects or three different powers that the mayor has that the other commissioners do not. When you vote in amongst yourselves, the mayor, you give that person the power to preside over the commission in each meeting. You give the mayor the power to receive service of process and litigation, and service and be head of the city for military and ceremonial purposes. So Mayor Johnson is our official baby kisser at events and ribbon cutter. And then in times of public danger or emergency, the mayor may take command of the police and appoint additional police and govern by proclamation to call on adults to aid in the enforcement of laws and to call out any organized militia within the country to suppress any riots or other disorderly conduct. So if there was a complete breakdown of society, Mayor Johnson could be our fearless leader and take control and keep us all safe and secure. Do any of you have any questions about that list of do's and don'ts? All right, give it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you for that refresher, Ross. We appreciate it. Moving on to number 9 under new business is consideration memorandum 20-126 regarding the school resource officer agreement between the city of Yangton and the Yangton School District. What is your pleasure?
Benson, so moved. Weber moved. Benson, second.
We have a motion and a second. Amy, for the public's benefit, can you talk about what we're approving or what we're considering here?
You bet. So as everyone knows or should know, currently we have one school resource officer, Preston Chrissy, who primarily resides in the high school and helps the staff there as well as the students. What we're proposing here with this agreement is a second SRO for which we've received a COPS hiring grant. So we will be splitting the cost of the second SRO, who is going to be, if you approve this, Dylan Wilson. He'll be primarily stationed at the middle school and also help out Officer Christie with the other schools when needed. And we will split the cost of that officer's salary and benefits 50-50. Now, we do have the grant, and the grant will pay for a large portion of that for the first 3 years. So it's a graduated grant. The city of Yankton will have to pay 25% of the salary the first year, split with the high school, and then 35% the second year, and then 40% the third. That will allow the two entities to build that into their budget. The SRO program has worked very well. Lots of good feedback from faculty and staff and parents, according to Dr. Kindle. Different situation in high school than it was when some of us walked through the halls, and I think it's been a win-win situation for both the Yankton Police Department and for the school district. So I will answer questions if anyone has them.
Amy, this is Commissioner Mosier. Does this grant tie anything into, I mean, right now our plan is to start the school year. Are there any conditions in that grant that says we have to have a physical presence in the school to get it, or do we get that grant if school's online, let's say?
It does not address any of that type of language, Commissioner Mosier. My understanding is that the officers are going to begin some of their work and training for Officer Wilson to be in the school regardless. So we can double check with the Department of Justice who administers the grant, but I think that we're okay, or they would have sent an addendum to it. We haven't heard that there's any reason that we couldn't begin using the funds right away. We've already been awarded the grant, so my understanding is that that would not inhibit us.
Thank you.
Commissioner Minor here, and I would just say, as an observer of the program in my daily job at the Yangton High School, this is an outstanding program. And you talk about how good it is for staff in the district and how good it is as well for the police department. But I would say it's good for the students as well. The way they're able to build relationships and approach Officer Chrissy and talk to him about anything, if it's football, whatever, you know, to have a friendly police presence in the building is invaluable. And I'm glad to see that we're expanding it.
Any more commission discussion? Dwayne, anyone in the commission chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing on this item.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
There are no YouTube comments.
Thank you. Al, roll call, please.
Okay, and this is roll call on new business item 4-9. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom votes aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor votes aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier votes aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm votes aye. Weber. Weber votes aye. Benson.
Benson, aye.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunig, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. New business item 4-9 passes 8-0.
Number 10. Can you hear me okay? There's a lot of feedback right now. There we go. That's better. Consideration Memorandum 20-145 regarding the CARES Act procurement and conflict of interest policy. What is your pleasure?
Weber moves.
Minor second.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Again, for the public, this is just tied back to our CARES Act reimbursement process that we've talked about quite a bit lately. Dwayne, anyone in the chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one at this time.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
There are no YouTube comments.
Thank you. Al, roll call, please.
This is roll call on new business item 4-10. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor votes aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier votes aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm votes aye. Weber.
Weber votes.
Votes aye. Benson.
Benson, I.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunick, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. New business item 4-10 passes 8-0.
Number 11 under new business is consideration of memorandum 20-143 regarding a bridge improvement grant application for the Cedar Street Bridge that would fund engineering work. We are applying for 50-50 match, which would put our share at $36,650. What is your pleasure?
Benson, so moved.
Schramm, second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, anyone in the chambers who wishes to address the commission?
No discussion at this time.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
No comments on YouTube.
Thank you. Al, roll call, please.
And this is roll call on new business item 4-11. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier's aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm is aye. Weber.
Weber is aye.
Weber is aye. Benson.
Benson, I.
Benson is aye. Brunig.
Brunick, aye.
Brunig is aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom is aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor is aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson is aye. New business item 4-11 passes 8-0.
Number 12 under new business is consideration of memorandum 20-146 regarding a request by the Yankton Chamber of Commerce to allow open containers during the Putt and Pub Crawl event on August 15th, 2020. What is your pleasure?
Benson, so moved.
Brunick, seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, anyone in the chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing at this time.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
No YouTube comments.
Thank you very much. Al, roll call, please.
This is roll call on new business item 4-12. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm is aye. Weber.
Weber is aye.
Weber votes aye. Benson.
Benson, I.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunick, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom votes aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor votes aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. New business item 4-12 passes 8-0.
Number 13 under new business is consideration of memorandum 20-147 and resolution 20-51 regarding a request by RibFest for special events parking ordinance number 933 to be in, to be in place during RibFest on August 29th, 2020. What is your pleasure?
Mosier moves the memorandum.
Bridget, seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion on this item? Dwayne, anyone in the chambers who wishes to address the commission?
We have no one appearing at this time.
Thank you. And Dave, anyone on YouTube?
No YouTube comments at this time.
Thank you. Al, roll call, please.
And this is roll call on new business item 4-13. Weber.
Weber votes aye.
Weber votes aye. Benson.
Benson, I.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunick, aye.
Brunig votes aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom votes aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor votes aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier votes aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm votes aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. New business item 4-13 passes 8-0.
All right, we have exhausted tonight's agenda, so I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Weber moves.
Minor, second.
We have a motion and a second. Al, roll call, please.
Okay, and this is a roll call. This is a roll call to adjourn. We'll start with Benson.
Benson, I.
Benson votes aye. Brunig.
Brunick, aye.
Brunig is aye. Mybom.
Mybom, aye.
Mybom is aye. Minor.
Minor, aye.
Minor is aye. Mosier.
Mosier, aye.
Mosier is aye. Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Schramm is aye. Weber.
Weber is aye.
Weber is aye. Mayor Johnson.
Johnson, aye.
Mayor Johnson votes aye. The motion to adjourn passes 8-0.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. This meeting is adjourned.